If you think the Titans can surprise people in 2023, then like the video. Let's try to get some good vibes going and tighten up and like today's video to start the show. Welcome in to Titans Today by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here, talking about all the latest news and rumors on your favorite team. So here's what we got coming up on the show. The latest on DeAndre Hopkins visiting the Titans. We'll kind of recap how that visit went. Plus, ESPN dropped their 32 NFL rankings for the top 5 players on each roster, the core, if you will, and we'll see where they had the Titans. Now, let's start things off by talking about Hopkins. So, he visited the Titans over the weekend, and his next scheduled visit is with the New England Patriots, which just terribly surprises me because Bill O'Brien is now in New England, but okay. Now, last season, PFF ranked him as the 33rd best wide receiver out of 113 qualifying players, and it just goes to show that D-Hop might have missed some time over the last 2 years, but it's still DeAndre freaking Hopkins. He's still one of the best in the biz. Now, Hopkins gave us a brief insight on how his visit went. He put these pictures on his IG story. First, this video of him in what looks to be like a limo, some very nice car driving him to the facilities with the welcome to Nashville DeAndre Hopkins. Nice jersey swap edit right there. Listening to some country music, so you love to see it. And then he posted this picture on his IG at a Instagram, Tim McGraw concert, CMA. So overall, looks like DeAndre Hopkins had a pretty good time. He was like pretty much every bachelorette party that's ever been to Nashville, loved Broadway, and never wants to leave and vows to move to Nashville at some point. If this was a college visit, the Titans would win, and there's no way Foxborough could compete with the Tennessee Titans. But the thing is, it's not a college visit. In fact, Mike Vrabel himself said, we don't want this to be a college visit, right? He says we want people who want to be here, and he's no longer in the college recruiting days. That is behind him from OSU. He wants people that want to be here. He does not want hostages. So the Titans are putting together a good package. I'm not quite sure what an exact contract could look like, right? The OBJ contract gave us a good framework and a good idea, but at the same time, Hopkins, I think, is better than Odell Beckham Jr. at this point, so he should get more, but we know the NFL doesn't always work that way, so we'll have to wait and see. Maybe it's more guaranteed money. Maybe it's even a 2-year contract to spread it out over 2 years, but that's the latest on D-Hop visiting Nashville. So speaking of Broadway, I've got a wedding coming up in August in Nashville, and I'm looking for everyone's recommendations of their favorite go-to bar. I graduated from UT. By the way, shout out to ESPN and then NCAA screwing over Tennessee and Southern Miss. I have no worries about missing this game right now because it's in a rain delay because it was a bonehead decision to have the Super Regional in Hattiesburg anyway, but that's for a Tennessee Volunteers YouTube show. Favorite bar to go to on Broadway? I've spent a lot of nights, some memorable, not so memorable nights on Broadway. Let me know what your favorite spot is, though. Moving on to DeAndre Hopkins' stats, though, over the last 4 seasons. Like I said, he's been limited the last 2 years, just 19 games, but still, 717 yards in 9 games, or the season before that, 8 touchdowns in 10 games. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins is still one of the best wide receivers in the industry, and when you look at Tennessee's wide receiver room, DeAndre Hopkins, he just stunts on these guys. I mean, no offense to Nick Westbrook-Akeen or Kyle Phillips, but come on, it's DeAndre Hopkins. Like, he would be the no doubt wide receiver 1 on this team, and it wouldn't even be close. So if you think about it through the lens of a half-glass full perspective, get Derrick Henry last year, DeAndre Hopkins, Harold Landry, Jeffrey Simmons. Like, those 4 players would win a lot of games, I believe. Plus, if you get a bounce-back season from Ryan Tannehill, you might surprise people. A lot of people have written off the Titans, going, it's the Jags division from here on out. Trevor Lawrence is going to be rocking and rolling. Don't sleep on a Mike Vrabel coach team that has a lot of talent still with Henry. And if you add Hopkins and Landry bouncing back and Simmons and Ryan Tannehill bouncing back as well, Tennessee could surprise some people. That's all I'm saying. Now, next up on the show, ESPN dropped their rankings for all 32 teams, top 5 players, the core players of their roster. And so I want to give you guys an insight on where Tennessee ranked. But before we do that, the bosses here at Chat Sports, we had our weekly Monday meeting going over all of our different channels, and Titans got called out. Not going to lie to you guys. In fact, they said if we do not reach 7,350 subscribers, which is 42 away from our current number, there will be no Titans videos in the month of July, and I don't want that to happen. I enjoy hanging out with you guys. I enjoy talking with the great people from the Volunteer State. So help me out, subscribe down below, and we can get you guys Titans content in the month of July. Now, let's look at some roster ratings for all 32 teams. This is ESPN's article of the top 5 core players for all 32 teams, and then ranking them 1 through 32. So just the top 5 players was factored into their equation. And let's get started with number 1, the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes does this by himself. It doesn't matter who 2 through 4 are. Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. Same for Joe Burrow. The Eagles at 3, the Dolphins at 4, the Bills at 5, Cowboys at 6, okay. Again, it's just top 5. It's not about 1 through 53. The Chargers then, the Jets, the Ravens, the 49ers. I don't really have any beef with any of that. The Jets feels a bit high to me, though. The Browns at 11, the Jags at 12, Minnesota at 13 feels a bit high for the Vikings. Seattle at 14 kind of feels a bit low, maybe. The Giants at 15 also feels a bit high. The Saints at 16 seems a bit high as well. I guess I'm really just high right now. The Raiders at 17, the Lions at 18, then you got Pittsburgh at 19, Denver at 20. So where does Tennessee fall? Well, we will show you that in just a moment. But first things first, get the Titans t-shirt and hat combo deal on sale too. So you're getting a shirt and you're getting a hat. Great thing to wear throughout the summer. Chatsports.com/TEN combo, 10 combo. That link's in the comments and the description of today's video. So moving on to Tennessee's ranking at number 22, just behind the LA Rams and just ahead of the Carolina Panthers, which the Panthers at 23, that is a whole other video because I don't understand how a rookie quarterback can have his team to 23, but whatever. Now, here are the Titans' core players, right? Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, Jeffrey Simmons, Harold Landry, and Kevin Byard, So you have a quarterback, running back, 2, 3 defensive players right there with an average age of 29.4 years old, which was tied with the Buffalo Bills for the oldest average age of the top 5 core for any team. So, not good, if I'm being honest. It's okay if you are Super Bowl contenders to have some older vet players, but Tennessee is not a Super Bowl contending team this year. So to have an old core, yikes. Now, Seth Walder, who wrote this from ESPN, said this: the Titans core is actually better than their actual roster, which looks bleak on offense. But you can do a lot worse than Tannehill at quarterback. His 49 QBR last year is partially due to having a little help at receiver or along the offensive line. And even though Henry's play has fallen off, he still remains an asset. Simmons, Byard, and Landry are all valuable defensive players too. The biggest question is how all these players will remain on the roster. So we're going to look at that last question, and I'm going to unpack it in just a moment. But do you guys think the Titans' last 5 seasons or last 5 years will be better than the next 5, right? That's kind of always the test your grandpa tells you. Like, will the last 10 years be better than the next 10 years as you pass things off to the next generation? Tennessee's best days under Mike Vrabel, at least this kind of era, if you will, of Tannehill and Derrick Henry behind him? Or are there still good days in front of them? Let me know what your thoughts are if Tennessee's next 5 years will be better than their last 5 years down in the comments section below. To me, it was a bit of a pleasant surprise, to say the least, that Tennessee finished at 22. Why? Their average age is 29.4. Like, that's a pretty ancient group right there. And there's a very good chance of that 5 group of players right there, only 2 are on this roster after 2023. Is anyone going to be shocked they moved on from Ryan Tannehill? No. Derrick Henry's on the last year of his contract. And they were already asking Byard to take a pay cut, so if he does not exceed expectations, which are probably very high for what they're paying him, it might just be the 2 players really under contract long-term, Landry and Simmons. So for Tennessee to finish at 22, not going to lie, felt like a bit of a win. I know that's a rain cloud talk, But when I saw this article for Tennessee, I thought, let's kind of scroll to the bottom and work our way back up to find the Titans, because I did not expect them to be kind of even close to being in the midway point of the rankings. Could be worse, could be better, but 22, I feel like it's a bit of a win for this Tennessee team that doesn't have a lot going for them, but maybe that's what they want to be, right? Have the national media sleep on them. They've got Vrabes. They've got some really good core players like ESPN pointed out, and a revamped offensive line could have this team back towards the top of the AFC standings. That is it for today's show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And to all my Tennessee fans watching right now, hopefully by the time you're watching this, the game is underway. I don't know when it's going to get underway, but hey, shout out to the NCAA for screwing over either Southern Miss or Tennessee and having this awful decision of a super regional be played during a hurricane instead of playing in Knoxville. But whatever.